Folks, welcome back to Modern Financial Wellness. I'm excited to welcome our guest today, Irma Neal. Irma is the founder of Onyx Rising, a change management firm focused on financial literacy, DEI, and leadership development. She's the former deputy mayor of Indianapolis, former director of human services in 2 large urban districts. She's also an author of the book Chaos: Insights to Lead Through the Storm, and a certified financial coach here in the second half of her career, building the business Onyx Rising. We're excited to talk to her about the work that she's up to today. Irma, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Likewise. So I know, like myself, you're a financial literacy, financial wellness, and well-being enthusiast, and I want to definitely spotlight for folks the work that you do at Onyx Rising. But I thought to start, you have an interesting story and journey yourself when it comes to discovering financial literacy along the way. Would you mind taking us back a little bit to your background and your journey? What were some of your experiences or early memories about money back from your childhood?
Well, I am the oldest of 8 children, and we grew up in abject poverty. I mean, we were a 2-parent family.
Mm-hmm.
My father worked 3 jobs all the time. My mother worked too.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember just thinking, I couldn't have been any more than 9 years old. I remember thinking, I'm not going to live like this when I grow up. I'm just not going to do it,
And at 9 years old, what were you seeing around you that made you think about that?
Well, while everybody in the neighborhood was in the same predicament financially, when you went to school and with some other friends, you could see that they were living differently, right?
Mm.
And I also noticed the mindset. I have to think back about this now, but I also noticed that mindset of my father in particular is that he, if you gave him credit, he didn't connect that meant you had to automatically pay it back or you should pay it back or whatever. It was more about, I need this, my kids need this, and so I'm going to take this now. If I can pay it back, I will, but if I can't, I just can't, that's just life,
Yeah.
So that's how I grew up, and I've always loved to learn. So
Mm-hmm.
I saw people around me and learned from them, and I just always knew, I don't know where it came from, James, but I just always knew there was a better way.
It's kind of intuitively, right? So up
Intuitive,
until
yeah.
9, 10 years old, you don't think anything different. It's just your experience. Your neighbors are in the same situation. So you don't think anything of it. But you get a little bit older, you start to look around, go to school.
Yeah.
People are living a little bit differently, and that
Exactly.
light bulb or that instinct kind of kicks on
Exactly.
early on. And where do you go from there? So you're 9, 10 years old. You're thinking, I'm going to do something a little bit differently. When did you start to kind of change your own trajectory?
Well, it actually was in high school because, we got the lunch money every day. My father was very good about giving us the lunch money every day for lunch. And I always saved part of mine, half of mine, again, not wanting to be poor. I saved some of mine. So at the end of the week, I had money left over and I could buy things and do things. And, so from that whole experience, I learned first the value of money. And then secondly, that even then there's a way to make it work for you. Because if you save it, you can get some of the things you want. If you spend it all, you just right back in the same place, right?
Yeah.
So, so I put that in practice, and I put that in practice my whole life. I've been a saver my entire life.
That's pretty amazing perspective for a high schooler, realizing there's some money coming in and I'm going to save. I mean, what was the lunch back then? A couple bucks a day? So
well, you know what we got? I'm showing my age now, but I got $1 a day, 5 days a week. So $5 a week is what we got. And I ended up saving. And, back then the lunches didn't cost that much either, but
right.
So I was able to save mine. Yeah.
Good for you. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you graduate from high school, you go on to college somewhere.
Yeah,
Did
I went
you
to college
have to kind
on
of
a
work?
scholarship.
Oh, good for you. Congratulations.
I went to college started at Indiana State, but I was in love with my husband to be. So I actually dropped out. We got married. I got married young. We had a child. But again, I never stopped the education. And again, the whole savings habits helped us there too, because I just was always really frugal with money and making sure that we were paying the bills on time and that kind of stuff. Now,
Yeah.
what's interesting and what I'd like for your listeners to remember is I married a spender and I
Mm.
was a saver, right? And like most couples, we did not have that money conversation before we got married. So there were several arguments early on about the fact that that he was spending money and I didn't want him to. And he started calling me the penny pincher
Mm.
and I started calling him excessive spending for things we don't need, right?
Right.
So that
Right.
was one of the things we had to work through as a
Yeah.
couple. And so
Yeah.
I would advise anybody who's in a relationship to make sure you have that money discussion. And
Yeah.
if you are with a spender and you're a saver, you got to work through that and preferably work through it before you tie the knot as opposed to
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah, so you fall in love and you don't think anything of it. It's the old opposites attract, right? Both in personality oftentimes, but in our financial habits and behaviors as well. We kind of
Right.
find our opposite. So that's an interesting uh uh share that you just made. What how did you work through that? And kind of get on the same page. How long did it take? Because I know for some couples, it takes a while to kind of align and get through some of those challenging conversations, which oftentimes start out as fights before
Yeah,
it's
and
a
as you know, money is probably is the number one reason that people break up is because of the money problems in the relationship. We did a lot of talking about it, and what we ended up doing is separating our money for a time
mm.
so that he could see he would run out and he have to come ask me. So we did that thing for a time because he just wasn't getting it, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
He just felt like he was supposed to be able to buy what he wanted to buy if he had the money to.
right.
And then he was, so it took a lot of conversation. It
Yeah,
took a lot of give and take. And then when my career exploded and I started making a lot of money, then he would we would save his and live off of mine.
hmm,
And so he saw then, how it was.
yeah,
I made sure he understood how the money was growing. And when we went to the financial advisor, we got a financial advisor, and he never, it just kind of glossed over his head. Everybody doesn't like numbers and
right, right,
finance
right.
and all this stuff like we do. So it just glossed over his head, but I kept making him come, go with me to see the whenever. So he got exposed to it, and that's the way it kind of turned him around. But
Yeah, yeah.
to the day he died, I was still a penny pincher, and he was the
Yeah, yeah, it's
he was
funny.
the spender. Yeah,
So this podcast is about financial well-being. I do a lot of conversations about couples and money. I didn't expect that we talk about it a little bit here in your past
yeah.
experience, but it's interesting how often it comes up, these differences in behavior and our mindset. So I appreciate you sharing that. You touched on the financial advisor that you worked with, and I'm kind of curious. You sound very much like a saver. From a very young age, you realize you need to pay your bills on time and you need to save your money, right? So you could do the things that you
Hmm.
want to do. But I think you and I both know that just saving money, just putting it in the bank, that's the
That
basics, right? But to grow
right.
wealth over time, there's a lot more you need to expose
A
yourself
lot
to.
more you need to explore. Right. Yeah.
So it sounds like, how did you get connected with that financial advisor? When did you start to get exposed to some financial literacy and education that really started to take you from a saver to somebody kind of growing wealth over time? What was that
Well,
like?
beyond the basics, I was a saver, like I said, and you and I, you stated it. You don't get wealthy by just saving money. You don't.
Hmm, hmm,
I was working at the time with IBM, and I remember a email coming across my desk that said, "We want you to be financially secure. whether you're with IBM or not. So we're going to pay for you to have one session with a certified financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I got hooked because, and that same advisor I have to this day, right?
That's amazing.
Because and what I liked about him is he didn't just invest my money. He taught me along the way what was
Mm.
happening, the difference between, and when I found out about compound interest, boy, I just got real excited about that. So that's what did it. And there are a couple of things that I learned that happened to me from that experience. Number one, because IBM invested in me, it created a loyalty
Mm.
in me about that company
Yeah.
just because they did that investment in me that actually changed my life.
Yeah, so that's an employer sponsored benefit, just like
Right.
your health insurance, which is extremely
Exactly.
valuable, and your retirement plan. Maybe you have a 401k back then. There's a lot of benefits that a company like an IBM is providing, but
Right.
that introduction to a financial planner, you just mentioned, changed your life, changed the trajectory of your life.
Right.
I mean, how
Yes.
invaluable is that benefit that your employer provided way back when, you know?
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
my passion now. That's the message Onyx is trying to get across now is
Mm-hmm.
that financial wellness needs to be a part of an employee benefit package. And
Mm-hmm.
the things that employers gain from just it's not a high cost benefit either for
Mm-hmm.
you to provide not just the education. Like
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I think I mentioned to you before is if I had a dime for every time I got the question, what's a 401k? Why do I need it? What's
Mm-hmm.
it mean? You know, it's the education plus the benefit like a 401k or a health savings account or all that. Those
Right.
two things combined really do change people's financial trajectory in their lives.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the benefit package by itself is not good enough. You have to connect the education and how it is going to impact the person in the future. Because if you're a person that's living paycheck to paycheck and they want to take $50 was way more than that now, $250 for health care, and then on top of that they ask you to contribute to the 401k. You're going to say I can't afford all this money coming out
Right.
of my check every week.
Right.
So the education has got to go with the benefit package as it's being rolled out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that's a great segue. Tell us a little bit more about Onyx Rising, some of the programs that you have. So, are there different types of employers you typically work with, or just generally tell us a little bit about the financial education and literacy programs that you facilitate for companies?
We started in 2016, and in early 2017, my pastor, I go to a rather large church. It is a large church. She asked me to do an 8-week seminar on financial literacy. She wanted me to go from the basics, the very basics, all the way through investing, starting a business and investing. And what was interesting is over 100 people signed up for the workshop.
Were
And
you
then the whole
surprised by
eight,
that?
I was
Yeah,
actually surprised by that many, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and what was even more surprising is that I didn't lose anybody the whole 8 weeks, right? So light bulb moment. This is a
Hmm.
business right here.
Hmm.
So we started out as, doing individual coaching. The people from that seminar signed up and did individual coaching. And then in 2020, like with everybody else, COVID changed that, and we went to group coaching, which is what we do now, and we do it for employers. And we have a series that we call Money Matters: Image versus Reality.
Mm,
And it is a series. The first workshop is about envisioning the life you want. Because you and I both know if you
yeah.
don't change the mindset, you don't change the behavior, right?
And that's what I love about what you guys are up to, because I think a lot of traditional financial literacy, it's just it's describing what you have, right? What is a 401k and what is a health savings account? And all that stuff's really, really important to have an understanding. But I think starting with the mindset is the right place and where everybody needs to think about starting, which is how do I think about money? How do I feel about money?
Exactly.
What is money for? What am I really trying to accomplish in the future? So tell me a little bit more about that. What does that part of the process
Well,
look
the
like?
thing is, particularly in the African American community, we're not taught about money at all.
Mm,
You find out about money either from how your parents didn't manage it, which was what was in my case,
right.
or how your friends do, or you just spend, and you develop all these myths around money and how to deal with it. I never will forget one of my first clients came to me, and she had over $100,000 in student loan debt. And she said that the way she dealt with bills was when the bill came in, if she had the money, she'd open it and try to pay it. If she didn't, she just threw it over to the side. Unopened, just threw it open to the side. And she said, that's because I saw that's how my mother did it.
Mm,
If I don't have the money, why am I going to open it? It's just going to make me depressed, right?
right. Right.
So you deal with all those little things that we have learned that make things worse instead of better, but
Mm-hmm.
we've incorporated it into our financial thinking. So you
Mm.
have to break that down. You know,
Yeah,
People
and it's
who might be religious, they'll say, well, money is the root of all evil. Well,
mm,
that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. So we
right.
get under that. And then we also have to deal with the social media part of this too. The fact
Mm,
that you can create any kind of image you want on social media and it not be the truth. So it's
yeah.
basing the truth around your social media image. So we do a lot of that at first. That whole session is just about mindset.
And if you don't break down some of those myths, you don't get underneath that and try to help people understand what's myth, what's real, image versus reality, it makes all the work after that really less effective, right? So if you
That's
don't
exactly
change the
right.
mindset, even if you know what a 401k is, you're still not going to take advantage of it the way that you should be,
Exactly right.
right? If you don't change
That's
that
exactly
mindset.
right.
And the social media and the comparison is something that really gets me, especially today. I was reading a book, The Soul of Wealth by Daniel
Yeah.
Crosby. I don't know if
Yep.
have you read that?
Yeah.
So
hmm
uh, yesterday, actually, I got to the chapter about or the essay about social comparison, and there was a stat in there that the top 5 social media accounts by followers have an average net worth of $400 million, and these are the people that we compare ourselves to, right, online. And it's important for people to understand that what you're seeing online is, number one, those aren't your peers, and the people that have it all together, that are buying new cars and showing you the fancy houses, that is not reality. That is filtered and staged,
Exactly
you know,
right.
you got to focus on what you can control and moving yourself forward
Yeah.
um on your own path. So
Yep.
it's
And
cool.
one of the things we stress is everybody's at a different point in their financial journey. And
Mm,
so you need to have a plan that fits you. And as you said, stop comparing yourself to somebody who created an image. Even if you
mhm.
could look behind the screen, they probably be in debt up to the wahazoo. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
But
yeah,
so it's living the life you want to live.
right.
And that first session is all about, and we call it visioning the life you want to live and
And
how
that way,
you want to get there. And we also teach that you can have anything you want. You just have to plan for it.
mhm,
You just have to have a plan to deal with it. And then
mhm,
we go from there to the basics, is what you talked about: budgeting, emergency fund, all the stuff that you can really get online
mhm,
if but we put it in the context of your life. And
mhm,
that's the difference. It's not
yeah,
you reading something. I heard just this morning that uh, most of the, what are they, the X generation or whatever is, they get their financial advice from TikTok.
mhm.
And it goes back to what you were saying, people creating an image that you don't know whether it's true or not.
Yeah,
And
so
then
this
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you go. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, then the third session is all about credit. because it's called Let's Talk Credit, because the credit industry has done a very good job of telling you the importance of your credit score. In fact, when I go into a workshop, I'll say, how many people know their credit score? 99% of the people will raise their hand and say, I know my credit score. But then you say, do you know what it means? Do you know how it impacts your life? Then you don't get the same level of understanding on that. And we even go, what sets us apart is we even go to what the lender looks for. And I make the analogy all the time. If you're a friend of mine and I borrow you borrow $100 from me and tell me you're going to pay it back next Friday and you don't pay it back, how do you think I'm going to feel about that?
Right.
And everybody says, oh, I know you'll be mad. I know you. Same thing with the credit. When you get credit from somebody, you are promising to pay them back.
Right.
And so
Right.
you need to, so you break it down in terms that people can understand. And then it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I understand that now,
Yeah. Yeah.
What, and the honorable thing to do, if you owe me $100 and you can't pay me on Friday, the honorable thing to do is for you to come to me and say, I can't pay you, but here's what I can do, and I'll pay you, you know. Same thing with with the creditor. You know, it's the word that, and you can negotiate those things. So we try to teach people that they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part of it is we talk about what the lender looks for. So after that session, you could pretty much uh, say whether I'll get the whether the bank or lender will approve it because you know what the criteria is for
Yeah, you
getting the
understand
loan.
those
So
qualifications. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, hmm
Something that you said that I think is really, really important about the work that you do is not only educating, helping people with that mindset, but these types of programs help support people, hold people accountable, help people apply it to their own lives, where they are in their journey. And there is so much information out there. So people don't need you or me to give them access to this type of information. But I think what's so valuable about what you do is the support and accountability and the one-on-one coaching that comes with some of your programs to really help people apply what's online and this information that they otherwise have access to, but actually apply it and get something done in their own lives. I think a lot of people are floating around on TikTok or wherever they get the information. And even if they have access to good information, they don't know what to do with it, right? So
exactly,
working with somebody
exactly.
like you in one of these programs can be invaluable to just actually get people to apply this information to their own lives, which I think is one of the wonderful things about these coaching programs and literacy programs that companies like yours put out there.
Yeah, we like to say we want to make sustainable positive change. We want you to be changed forever when you
Mm-hmm.
walk into one of our workshops. And we've been doing this now since 2016, and we got all kind of testimonials that say, "Okay, I still remember what you taught me." And the reason is because our personal testimony is that of overcoming barriers, systemic
Mm-hmm.
barriers to gaining wealth. And then on top of that, it's tied to your job, your vision, what you
Mm-hmm.
want out of life,
Mm-hmm.
which makes the difference between just reading it and being able to have some help,
Yeah.
making it work for you. And
So
then online, they don't tell you the downsides either. They don't tell you if you invest, you might lose all your money. And what do you
yeah.
what do you do
Yeah.
then? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Is it interesting? So how long have you had a relationship with your financial advisor that you met way back when at IBM?
It was 19 30 years.
30
The
years.
same
So
one.
you've been,
Mm-hmm.
Onyx has been around since 2016. So you're pushing a
Mm-hmm.
decade yourself. And now you're starting to
Right.
hear people that are still, providing that testimony.
Yep.
Um, that's testimonials that the work that you did changed their life as well. So it's an amazing kind of pay it forward, giving back
Mm-hmm.
and to other people that you've made a business. And I think it's amazing that you're doing that. Is it rewarding for you to be able to give back like that, just like this financial advisor changed your life?
Yeah,
How do you
it
feel?
really is. That's the beauty of it. The fact that you can see people's lives change for the better because of something you shared,
Hmm.
with them so long ago. And I made it a point that this is an interesting story. I have one son, right? And he said to me one day, had to be in his 30s, something like that. He said to me, he said, Mom, you taught me a lot of things. He said, but you never taught me about money. It was like I got a gut. It was like a kick in the gut. And I started thinking about it and I said, well, no, because I was too busy giving you stuff, you know, to
Yeah.
stop to do it. But the next time around, my husband and I ended up having to raise his brother's son, and we got him when he was 10.
Mm.
And you best believe I taught this dude everything I knew about money. He had a bank account, he had a side business, he had all this. And then guess what? He taught me about crypto.
There you
That's how
go.
far it's come.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I guess
Amazing.
I say that to say, while you're teaching all these other people, don't forget that there are people in your house
Yeah.
that need
Yeah.
that knowledge too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. That's
it's the
amazing.
most rewarding part of the whole job. Yeah.
That's great. So I hope that people listening, if you're an employee, to look around at the resources that you might have that your employer is sponsoring and putting out there. Irma's example of working with a financial planner that IBM offered to her over 30 years ago that changed her lives. Onyx Rising, putting together these literacy programs. There's resources out there. There's people that can help you if you're curious and you're motivated and you ask those questions. I hope that's a takeaway for people listening. For employers, do you have any other thoughts about that? You talked about that engagement, that loyalty, these people that you're changing their lives financially. What's the benefit to the employer of bringing in a program like this to their business, their bottom line, their culture? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there are a lot of benefits. We actually have an employer's guide for free on our website, which is onyx the number 2 rise.com, that talks about the money mindset, and then the employer, what you gain if you bring such a program to your company. There are also tax benefits. On your 401k, that's pre-tax. If you got more people going in, that's less you pay out. And so there are some tax benefits to it. There are cultural benefits to it. One anecdote I'll tell you is we did the series for a charter school educators, and there had to be about 70 plus people in the class that morning. And the founder of the class said to me, she said, I don't understand why people don't take advantage of the 403b match that we give all the time. She says hardly anybody takes advantage of it. After the very first class, she came back to me and she said, I had a 37% increase in the number of people signing up for the 403b program. And she said, and even after we finished, it was even more, because
Wow.
they understood that connection, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
that is a big benefit to companies,
Right.
to say nothing of
Yeah.
how it changed your culture. I mean, you could
Right.
probably tell from me that you can't say anything bad about IBM to me, right? And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was 30 years ago that I
I
worked for
know.
them
I'm
or
even
something
looking at
like
your
that.
certification over your shoulder. Even got it hanging on the wall in your background
Right,
still. I can see the
right.
IBM
Yeah,
logo. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's just so many benefits. And the other part of it is the employee understands better profit and loss and the business component of profit and loss and why you can't do certain things and all
Hmm.
that. So the more educated your employees are, the better to your company. I think is an
Yeah.
easy way to say it. There's nothing but positives to
Yeah.
financial wellness programs. Nothing but
Yeah.
and they don't cost as much either. They don't cost that much to implement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it's good all around for everybody involved. So again, I think a big takeaway in talking with you is if you're an employee or if you're an individual with an employer, to look around. What are the benefits that are currently offered? If you're a business and you're not offering a wellness program, financial wellness or literacy program, reach out to Onyx Rising or Irma or anybody else. Let's just lift people up by educating everybody, and we're all going to be better off for it. Um, so Anything else, Irma, you'd like to let us know about related to the programs? Do you have any workshops coming up? Is there anything else we should let people make people aware of before we let you go?
Well, yeah, we're open to doing workshops all the time. We do it for companies. The company pays our fee for doing the workshops, for bringing them in. We do small groups with people whose credit is compromised, shall we say, and they need some individual help in getting their credit up, on track. We don't sell any financial products. We are not affiliated with any financial group. We do that on
So it's not a
purpose.
funnel at the end of the
It's not a funnel.
program,
We
sign here.
educate.
Yeah. Yep.
We educate. We try to change lives through education. We do great follow up once you deal with us. And so it's all about just making life better for people who have not had the chance or the opportunity to learn how money works. And some of them will be like you and me, they'll love it and they'll just keep on learning, and then they'll teach somebody else, and it's just good all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely. Mention the website one more time. It's onyx2rising.com.
Onyx 2 Rise, Onyx, the number 2, rise.com. And
Awesome.
we've got our money mindset quiz on there where you can see if you're holding any of those uh, myths about money that may be inhibiting your financial success. And there's a guide on there for employers who want to bring the program to their business. And we do all types, all businesses. We do small business, and of course, our passion is to help the minority communities, underserved, and people of color.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because we
Yeah.
don't have access to that information all the time like others do.
Yeah.
But
It's
the
great.
one thing about money, it'll work for anybody. It doesn't care what color you are.
It won't discriminate, right? If
It
you
won't
understand it.
discriminate.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you understand it, you can make it work. So,
Amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's an awesome way to kind of wrap up our conversation. Irma, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I think the work that you guys are doing at Onyx is amazing. I encourage people out there to check out onyx2rise.com. Take that mindset quiz. That is a good activity for anybody that's interested in figuring out if they have some of these mindset myths and beliefs about money. One last couple of questions before we let you go, that I try to talk to everybody about or ask everyone. This is a show about financial well-being. So when you hear that term, financial well-being, or having a sense of financial well-being, what does that mean to you? Does anything come to mind when you think about that term?
Yeah, when I think of financial well-being, I think of freedom. I
Mm,
think it's the freedom to move the way you want to have the things that make you happy, to make the memories that make life worthwhile, right? So, we live in a big, beautiful country, a big, beautiful world. Financial wellness allows you to experience all these different things, the
mm,
different cultures, different countries, different. I mean, even in the US, we just live in a beautiful place, and financial wellness allows you to do that. It also is a hedge against the bad things that happen.
mm,
I tell the story that my husband was killed in a car accident.
Sorry to hear that.
He and we were married for 47 years before he passed. But the fact that we were in a financially well situation
Mm,
when he passed allowed me to keep on living and not having to sell the house or the car or anything to get
mm-hmm,
through it. And
mm-hmm.
that's such a huge relief, huge burden. If you're already grieving and then you got to worry about how am I going to keep my house, when
Yeah.
just a little bit of upfront preparation
Mm-hmm.
will stop that stuff from happening. So all of that encompasses financial wellness to me. And the last story I tell is, I had a house built in 2020. In 2022, 2021, 22, a car slams into my living room.
Get
A
out of
car
here.
is actually sitting in, my dining room, actually sitting in my dining room. And I say, okay, who would have ever thought that that was one of the things I had to guard against financially was a car showing up in my house.
Hmm.
But because we had made the preparation, ended up getting the house rebuilt. The front of the house had to be rebuilt. It
Hmm.
got rebuilt better than it was before. I like it better now than it was before. And
Nice.
and my out of pocket was ended up being nothing after I got restitution from the person who ran
Yeah.
into the house.
Yeah. So a
You
little
know,
unexpected remodeling that you were happy with at the end. Yeah.
at the end,
Yeah.
right? It's just we never know what life's going to throw at us.
Right.
We
Right.
just don't know, right?
Well, I love
So
what you shared about freedom, protection against those risks that happen. We're not just talking about what is a 401k. We're talking about freedom and flexibility and security and, big, big, things that encompass this idea of financial well-being. And again, I think your literacy programs and the work that you do go a long way to help people down that road and on that path. So, Irma Neal, it's always a pleasure to see you and talk with
you
you.
too,
And
you
we
too.
really appreciate your time.
All right, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. You're
You
one of
got
my
it.
favorite people.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. And everybody, if you listened to the show and you enjoyed what you heard, you can head over to modernfinancialwellness.com where you'll see this episode. We'll have links to Onyx Rising and some of the questionnaires or the money mindset quiz and things like that at your fingertips. And don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that fun stuff. And we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks again. Thanks again for listening to this episode. A quick note, although I do hope that the information that we talked about was helpful, in no way is anything discussed on the podcast to be taken as specific financial advice. Please consult your own advisors and do your own research when you're making important financial decisions.